Steamworld Heist 2 is a much more detailed and deeper follow-up to the original, but does it improve on the easily accessible, straightforward formula of Steamworld Heist, or is this new experience ruined by too many changes and too much going on? Sequels can be dicey. This video will discuss both the new and returning things to help you make an informed decision if Steamworld Heist 2 is a game for you. For starters, your basics are the same here: the world, art style, voice acting, tone of the characters, and of course the hats, which are both as wild and weird as ever. But everything is noticeably more polished and refined, from the textures and graphics to the overall just smooth feeling of Steamworld Heist 2. Also, you don't need to play the first game to understand the second, as this takes place years later and there's only small references here and there. The story is more of a focus though. Characters are more fleshed out, and the developers estimate Steamworld Heist 2 should take around 35 hours to finish, which is basically double the length of the original. The reputation system makes a return, with the stars rewarded for mission performance being used to unlock certain items and areas in shops, as well as to push the main story forward. Combat and missions in Steamworld Heist 2 have the same foundation, with a few changes I'll get into later, and stick with the 2D grid movement, cover systems, and manual aiming trick shots that it's known for. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I personally think the combat feels snappier, more intuitive, and again, just more polished than the first game. It's a lot of fun.
I think it's brilliant.
Where Steamworld Heist 2 really shines though are the new additions and small tweaks to the already strong foundation. Even the smallest changes made address issues from the original Steamworld Heist, and the larger ones, like the job system we'll discuss later, are all positive and very well done. For example, the inventory system is not limited like it was before, so you don't have to constantly decide what to sell or keep after every mission or run around buying more room. Speaking of missions, they are no longer procedurally generated, but instead handcrafted around their objectives to avoid that same old feeling. The open world and naval combat was something I was skeptical about at first, but being able to explore and do missions in any order you want makes for a nice change of pace. And the ship combat is straightforward, yet enough to give a little bit of extra life and spice to the map. There are even hidden areas, shops, and points of interest to find, as well as caches of resources floating around, so exploring feels rewarding more often than not. Another small change veterans will appreciate is that your scrapped crew members will receive 50% XP for completed missions now instead of none at all. In fact, there really are no consequences for mission failure. Frequent checkpoints allow you to rewind to a few turns before death, or you can choose to just go back to the world map. These changes alone make Steamworld Heist 2 much less punishing, but it also introduces completely customizable difficulty settings for pretty much every aspect of the game. This allows you, the player, to dictate your experience or change a specific part of it that you might not care for quite as much. Couple that with missions that aren't going to take your whole day, most are 15 to 30 minutes, and it makes for a very player-friendly game. However, if you're thinking it sounds too easy and you'll just run through all of the missions with your crew at once, it should be noted that each crew member and each inventory item can only be used once per day, requiring you to strategize who and what goes where to maximize your daily output and bounties. But what exactly are bounties? Honestly, they're just rewards for things that you'll probably be doing anyways. Each mission has bonus objectives to complete for bounty points, as well as flagship vessels out in the world that you can sink to earn a little bit of extra too. At the end of the day, however many bounty points you have will be redeemed for items, weapons, or gallons. Submarine upgrades and modules work the same way. You'll acquire fragments from missions and use them to upgrade your base, weapons, crew, and abilities. It's nothing complex, but the bounties and upgrades are small, rewarding systems that help to make it feel like you're constantly working towards progressing something, with more unlockables becoming available the further you get into the story. It's these complementary systems and things that add up to flesh out Steamworld Heist 2 without making it feel bloated or overly time-consuming like a lot of games these days. Nothing is extremely grindy or difficult to acquire. Now, before I get into the combat, I'd just like to point out that if you are a turn-based tactics fan, check out the channel and consider subscribing. This is what I do. Any and all support is appreciated. The turn-based combat system is obviously the real meat of Steamworld Heist 2. It sticks with the standard action point and grid-style movement system and looks deceptively simple, but don't be fooled, there's a lot going on here. The addition of some environmental objects and destructibles allow you or the enemies to get creative, and I was pleasantly surprised at the variety of enemy types and tactics used. There are two distinct factions with their own unique combat styles and quirks, and this helps to keep things fresh as you're not always fighting the same group. Stronger enemies and commanders now also give edicts, which are pretty much just random buffs, to their troops, and those buffs will continue until the commander is taken out. Alarms count down and bring reinforcements in, and missions can really get hairy pretty quickly if you're trying to grab all the swag, complete all the objectives, and keep everyone alive. The enemies feel more strategic and tactical than the first game, but not to the point of being ridiculous. The cover system feels improved as well, as there are more abilities and ways to directly manipulate, create, or destroy cover during battle. The biggest change affecting missions and combat, however, is the new job system. This is effectively Steamworld Heist 2's way of replacing set character classes, as any character can be given any of the 6 available jobs at any time just by changing what weapon they're equipped with. Each weapon type will determine what abilities the character wielding it will get, and any character is capable of wielding any weapon type without restrictions. This is huge because you don't have to wait to meet certain requirements to be able to recruit a character just to have their class. You can make anybody any class you need at any time. This also allows for a much more flexible approach to missions because you don't always want that friendly fire grenadier, but you still need a body. Make him a sniper for that mission. Problem solved. To add a little more depth to this system, each character can level up jobs to unlock new abilities and passive bonuses, and when you switch them between jobs, they can use some of the abilities they have unlocked from other jobs at the same time. Basically, your characters can multi-class. This leaves everything open-ended and up to you, and nothing is ever set in stone, so you can experiment and change things around pretty much any time that you want with no real consequences. It also takes some of the pressure away from choosing who to recruit, as anybody you pick can be changed to whatever job you want them to be, giving more player agency. Chalk this up as a win for the developers. And that brings us to the big question: should you play Steamworld Heist 2? Well, it's everything that a sequel should be, addressing all of the minor issues from the first game, but more than that, it's a very solid and deceivingly deep turn-based tactics game that doesn't take itself too seriously and won't waste your time. Fully customizable difficulty and short, quick missions make it so that you can pick up and play whether you have 30 minutes or 8 hours. For new or returning players, there's plenty of tutorial pop-ups to help you get used to the new systems, and the combat still has the easy to learn yet difficult to master aspect to it. It really is just a fun breath of fresh air, and that is exactly why you should play Steamworld Heist 2. For more turn-based tactics content, be sure to check out the channel and subscribe.